All right, let's get into our objective one for particle behavior. And we're pretty much going to talk about the three states of matter: solid, liquids, and gases. So make sure when this is all said and done, in your notes, you include the difference between solids, liquids, and gases, and we'll focus on that as we kind of get into it. All right, so a quick review of some stuff that will tie into today's new topic is states of matter. Remember, if you're not sure what we mean when we say states of matter, it's at the bottom here: solids, liquids, and gas. And what we're talking about, what forms do substances exist? So everything we know here pretty much on Earth is either a solid, liquid, or a gas. Remember, all matter is made up of little particles called atoms and molecules. That's from our last unit. And those little atoms and molecules are always moving. They're always moving and bumping into each other. And the way that the particles move and interact helps determine if it's a solid, liquid, or gas, which we're going to show you in pictures and words here coming up. So, what makes something a solid, liquid, or gas? I mean, you know what one is, you know difference, but what actually determines what an object is? I'm going to mention it here as a preview, but we'll talk about it each. Notice here, these are the particles in one of the states of matter, and they're really close together. You can see in this second picture, the particles are spread out a little bit. And in this third one, they're moving. That's what this gray tail shows. They're moving fast and they're spread out the most. Really, these are the main differences you're going to need to know. And you could probably guess, we'll show you here before we move on, the particles that are packed real close together, well, that's a solid. That's why you can't put your hand through it. The particles that are pretty close but move around a little bit are liquids. And you could move your hand in there and they'll move around. And then the particles where they're spread out and go crazy fast are gases. So let's focus on solid. Make sure you have this in your notes, the definition of a solid. It's something that has a definite shape and volume, which means takes up a certain space. Look at anything that's a solid, your desk, your computer, your pen, whatever. It has a certain shape and it takes up a certain amount of space. If a particle is in a solid, they don't move fast enough. Remember, they move, everything moves, every state of matter has particles that move, but they don't move fast enough to overcome those bonds or the attraction between them. So they kind of just vibrate back and forth in place. So if we look at this picture down here, these are all moving side to side, but they're so close to each other, they just bump and pretty much stay in place. You don't notice that they're moving. On this slide, make sure you have this definition up here in your notes of liquid. It says it has definite volume, meaning it takes up it has space, but the shape is of whatever you put it in. So when we say the shape of its container, we're saying whatever you put it in is the shape it will take. So if I have a pop bottle and pour liquid into it, it takes the shape of the pop bottle. If I pour that out into a big pan, it takes the shape of the pan. If I pour it out on the table, it just spreads out all over the place. The reason being how the particles in liquids move, and they move fast enough to overcome some of the attraction. They're still close to each other, but you can see in the picture there's enough space where they can kind of slide past each other. That's why if you put your hand in like a swimming pool, pop molecules just move right around your hand and you're able to move through there easily. And last, the third state of matter is gas. Again, make sure this is in your notes up here. It says there's no definite shape and no definite volume. So remember, solids had both definite shape and volume. Liquids had definite volume, but took the shape of their containers. And gas is nothing. It's all over the place. It just spreads out as much as it can. Particles in gas move so fast they overcome the attraction and they just spread out as far as they can. If this container down here where I'm going to put a star were opened, these would start flying out of here. They'd move all over. Some would be bouncing in, but they would go all crazy because they move so fast. So quick review, and if you don't have these in your notes, make sure you put it all in your notes. The difference between a solid, liquid, and gas. Remember, solid has definite everything, definite shape and volume. Liquid, definite volume, but you know liquids will take whatever shape they're in. So they take the shape of their container, and gases, they don't have definite anything.